Back in January, I'll give you another axiom. Back in January, when I stepped back into the daily leadership role here at Willow, we were facing several sizable challenges. The loss of 3 teachers, a sagging midweek service, flat weekend attendance for the first time in our history, widespread confusion in our small groups area. Those are just for starters. And my wife asked me just before I stepped back into that challenge, she said, "How do you feel about all this?" And an axiom came out of my mouth before I even thought a lot about it. I said, "Lynn, all I really have to do is get the right people around the table and we'll be fine. That's all I have to do. I just have to get the right people around this table." These are chairs around a table. And whenever I have to tell you what I'm drawing, I feel a little defeated, but I felt like I had to tell you that time. Friends, I have an unshakable belief in this axiom. I believe that God wants every church on planet Earth to prevail. Ours, yours, and everyone's. I believe God wants every church to get stronger, to grow deeper, to become more radically loving, to engage more with the poor and the oppressed, to enfold the lonely. I believe heaven aches for this to happen and grieves every time it's not happening. I believe that God will pour out His power and His wisdom on people who believe that the church is the hope of the world and who roll up their sleeves and work toward that end in His power and for His glory. And so my job as a senior leader is simply to invite the right people to sit around the problem-solving table, bolt the doors, and ask God to help us, and then get on with doing what He leads us to do, which is exactly what I did with that young team of leaders for 16 hours over a 2-day period of time in January, and by the end of the second day, we just sat in awe at what God had done. We continue to meet, that group and a few others sprinkled in, and we're having a ball and we're making some progress around here. But I just want to pause right here for a moment and ask you senior leaders if you still really believe that if you gathered the right people around a problem-solving table, bolted the doors, and asked God to help you, do you still really believe He loves you and He will help you? Do you believe that? Because our faith can get shaken on this if you've taken some hits, and if you've gone through some dry spells, and if your church hasn't done well in recent months or years. Some of you might need a faith injection right now that you can do this kind of thing. Some of you might need to redefine who the right people are around that problem-solving table, because you might not have the right people around the table. Some of you might need to decide what challenges you ought to be talking about around that table. But do not lose heart on this one, leaders. Everyone around this table is looking at you at the head of the table, wondering if you really believe these problems are solvable. If you really believe that God is going to help you. They feed off your courage, your optimism, your faith-based gut conviction that God wants His church to prevail and wants your little team to be a part of that prevailing movement. So don't lose heart on this. Get the right people around the table and get to work.